go. Okay, welcome to Old World episode. The road to. So, actually, we have a name for this show now. Hold on. It's called The Road to the Old World podcast, Old Boy's Journey. I think. Hold on, let me just double check. What the show is called. It's called something like that. But I'm not joined by my co-host for the Old World show, Mr. Val Heffelfinger. The Road to the Old World. It's snappy. Yeah, thank you. It's a snappy name. But he's obviously away. He's at the LVO streaming the 40K, the world's largest 40K event. He's streaming it while messaging me about how much he can't stop thinking about the Old World. Old World will never get released. Randy, what if I told you I think the Old World's going to get released this year? How does that sound? I'm joined by the Twitch chat. And today's show, we're just going to be looking at all the 3D prints that are available potentially for building and producing your old 3D, your old world minis. Because, as we know, many of the Old World armies are OOP. You may have seen that written in some blog posts or something like that. Out of production. Oop. I honestly, when I first got into the hobby, thought that it meant that they were broken. Like, oops, we broke them. Took me a long time. Took me a long time to work out that I was wrong. Is there a nice Russian cast site that has some hard to find Bretonian men at arms? I bought 60 of them and they sent me 98 lol. Wow. Okay. Yeah, they did an oops and they dropped the molds. That's what I thought. Okay, so the first and most obvious place that you can pick up miniatures to play back in the old world is going to be eBay, where you can get those, like, you can get all the old sculpts available, right? So your Facebook marketplaces and your eBay. We're not going to be covering that today because many of those are older sculpts, and the thing I like looking at is what, like, new sculpts might look like and how we could rebuild those armies. Secondly, we have had many rumors that the launch box is Bretonnia and Tomb Kings, mainly from Games Workshop in their articles. So those are ones that we'll look for initially because we want those, right? Because we don't want the game to launch and us not have the ability to play the game. So we're going to need to produce some armies ahead of time. Okay? And also armies that are most likely to make it. My personal opinion, we're definitely going to see Bretts and Tomb Kings. We're obviously going to see the Empire. I think eventually we'll see some of the Total War stuff like Kislev. Yeah? Cathay. I think we'll see those as well. Maybe eventually we'll see Araby. Not sure. Maybe. Liam in the chat is already on it. I think there's a burgeoning group of people who are going to try and make this happen. So we're going to look at some STLs that are available to potentially do this from. Now, Val has already printed loads of these, so I thought we'd go through Lost Kingdom miniatures first, because these seem like the people who are most fastidiously, like, recreating the old world via STLs, but for themselves, right? That's what it looks like anyway to me. So they've got a couple of releases. So they've got Infernal Dwarfs, Chaos Dwarfs, Night Elves, Dark Elves, Undying Dynasties, Tomb Kings, and the Undead of the Misty Island, which I do not know who they are. So we'll start there. So they've got Chaos Dwarfs. Now, Chaos Dwarfs is kind of like a weird release because it had a plastic kit a long time ago, and then it had a Forge World release. And I'm not certain if Chaos Dwarfs would make it back into the old world. I would think it would, because old world's being made by Forge World. Forge World made Chaos Dwarfs, so it makes sense they're going to reproduce their own thing, right? Surely Kislev first. They seem like the furthest along development. I don't think it's going to be that. I think they're going to jump out with their big new starter. Like, Tomb Kings and Bretonnia were, like, just the standard. Like, I think because they got lost when Old World went into New World, I think that they're the kind of poster children for what people want to see returned, and then they'll jump in because they want to get a load of players back who maybe they missed or they lost, or they want to go down that childhood route. And Kislev was not really something they'd properly explored in the old world by the time they destroyed it. So I reckon what they want to do is bring out that later on once they got people invested, right? Vampire Coast, surely, because that DLC was a big hit for Warhammer Total War. Yeah, that Vampire Coast, definitely, eventually. I think Chaos Dwarfs are a long way off, to be honest. Okay, that's fair. So Chaos Dwarfs, but these guys do some pretty good Chaos Dwarfs. And I'm going to say that they might even be better than the Chaos Dwarfs from Forge World, their most recent iteration, because they've got the chaosy vibe, but they've also got big hats. I don't know if anyone's got any links to other big hat Chaos Dwarfs, but these guys are pretty cool. I'm going to go with that. Like, it's pretty nice to see them. Hold on. So that's your foot infantry. Chaos Dwarfs like had foot infantry. They had shooters. The bull centaurs was something that they were quite famous for. So they've got a couple of here. They've even got terrain. What's good about the Lost Kingdom people is they've also got terrain. So if you want it to be like, do you know what? I'm also going to build the terrain for this faction and like build myself a Chaos Dwarf board to battle on, then you're all sorted, which I think is good. One of the things Chaos Dwarf's really famous for is the war machines. Not seeing any so far. Oh, there we go. There's a hell cannon, which is what we're really looking for. The hell cannon. Wow, this stuff's great. Really impressive. Vey Victors do really good fancy models. Please send me a link. Yes, the Kadai Destroyer was a famous miniature that they had. Ooh, Berserker unit. This is fun. Oh, they've got loads of sculpts. This is thrilling. Okay. Loads and loads of sculpts available from these guys. Just opening a few up so we can check them all out and see what we think together. Give them a rating. Ooh, a Khan. Okay, oh, they also, Chaos Dwarfs also were, you also could get them with hobgoblins, so evil goblins. And that was kind of like a nice little thing, because obviously dwarfs were order and goblins were destruction or whatever the other thing was. I can't remember in the old world what the alliance, just good and bad, I think it was. And then they were natural enemies pitted against each other, like at Karakat Peaks, 8 Peaks, sorry. It was always goblins versus dwarfs. Right, that was kind of one of the things. So Chaos Dwarfs are kind of this kind of cool amalgamation of two natural enemies in one force, which I loved. Rob, look at the Misty Island stuff. I will do. I promise. We're going to look at all of it. Just give me a moment. I promise. All right, let's look through the dwarf stuff, shall we? So we've got some bull centaurs, pretty good models. I think maybe not as good as the Forge World ones. The Forge World ones were amazing. Orcs and Goblins were their own faction. They were Blank Wizard. What I mean is what was cool about the Chaos Dwarf kind of roster is you mixed goblins, part of one faction, with dwarfs, part of another faction, into this like amalgam faction, and that was a cool little thing, in my opinion. Chaos Dwarfs are my army. Chaos Dwarfs are my army. I think I'm probably going to do a Chaos Dwarf army, like 3D print one, and I'm going to use it in Age of Sigmar, and I'm going to use them as Slaves to Darkness. And then, because they're all armored and stuff, and I'm going to use those instead of Chaos Warriors. I've been thinking about this a lot. I think I'm going to be very excited about that. So I'm going to do that and see how people. I mean, people should be fine with it, right? It's like using, halflings in Cities of Sigmar. What was cool about Chaos Dwarfs? What was cool about Chaos Dwarfs was very much like any satirical kind of like fantasy evil race. Rob, yeah, in the chat. In that they were obviously a criticism, right, on very much like Lord of the Rings. They're a criticism on the machinations of man, the building of giant industry, and the pursuit of arcane knowledge, which eventually led to their downfall, and corruption, is what it was. Don't you try and come at me, yeah? Right? Hello, Nogo Matthew, what up? Yes, they were great models. They were also just great models, right? I thought they were cool. Plus, I like, what was I going to say? I just like fire dudes. Like, if you get me like a wizard who's doing a fireball, I'm like, all right, whatever, let's go. I was one of the Chaos Dwarf WhatsApp groups, and you definitely weren't in there, Rob. It was me, Andy, and Danny Cashman. It was definitely, I made the group. Anyway, so here we go. Just a cool banner dude, which is nice. We'll fly through these, right? So there you go. You've got a bunch of dudes. And then you got the Hell Cannons. This is a bit overwrought for me as a kit, but I guess it's meant to be overwrought because it's literally a demon cannon. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, actually. Like, maybe a bit too square for me, but very, very fun. Kind of Assyrian. Yeah, I think that they gave the Chaos Dwarf aesthetic with the big beards, the hats. They definitely had like an Assyrian sort of like look vibe to them, right? Like they definitely like took notes of that. Very much like the current Hedonites of Slaanesh. You've got kind of like a bazaar with an A versus an I, a kind of like, you know, Turkish kind of Persian like kind of like look to them. They remind me too much of Fire Slayers. Yeah, that's fine. I understand that. Here's some more. So they had a big mechanical like train as well. So I guess that's what that's meant to be. It's a big mechanical ball. That's pretty fun. They had a big giant demon monster called a Kadai Destroyer. I'm not digging this. This is too mechanical, to be honest, for me. But I do think these miniatures are very cool. Like a wicked little Chaos Dwarf, Sorcerer, some Golems, which is fun. Use those as Kadai. Some Berserker models, absolutely excellent. Some more. The hats on these guys are absolutely outrageous. They are Persian. It's why the Gromgor's Black Orcs were called the Immortals. Oh, interesting. Thanks, Wolfen Studios. I appreciate that. Did Kadai get ever? So they made Kadai the models. So you had Kadai and the Kadai Destroyer. The Kadai Destroyer famously never got a model. But the Kadai, although, little known fact, if you remember, oh God, he came out eventually as a Khorne Korgorath, a giant Khorne beast from Forge World that they said was a Korgorath. It was called a... what was he called? He had a name. They released him in Age of Sigmar. Anyway, he was a sculpt that originally was meant to be the Kadai Destroyer. There was a bunch of stuff that Forge World had made, but they didn't know that Games Workshop were going to just blow up the old world. And they were like, oh, what we can do with all these sculpts now that we have. So they changed them into Age of Sigmar sculpts. Very funny stuff. Like, it made me chuckle a lot. You got the Elite Guard. Again, they look awesome. Big blades, love that. They look fab. All unhelmeted. Some infantry. Some Boombas with some big Boomba! I love them. With their big guns. They look awesome, man. I love Chaos Dwarfs. I'm going to definitely put this army together. And then you've got some of the goblins. So like a goblin. That doesn't look like a Goblin Khan, though, actually. Saying it. Anyway. So, yeah. So Chaos Dwarfs, definitely on the mix. Definitely, I think, on the way back. That wasn't why we initially looked at them, but I thought we'd start there. The reason I initially thought we'd look at the Lost Kingdom miniatures versus everyone else is because of the Tomb Kings. They do Tomb Kings and they do Bretonnians, and they do both of them very, very, very well. So if you wanted to build yourself either of these two armies, I'd be a little cautious about basing the army right now. If you're going to build an old world army, I'd be a little cautious about basing it. We don't know what the situation is. They have said it's squares, but we don't know if the characters are going to stay on squares. We don't know if the characters are going to go on rounds, kind of a bit like you get from A Song of Ice and Fire. So that's something to be really conscious of. So I'd be a little cautious basing my miniatures right now, but you can definitely paint them all up before we get into it, right? That's fine. And then basing is just one of those things you could just do in 2 or 3 days, and then you're ready to go on the old world, right? I just use the 6 basing chart, says can I get, but we're not sure. It's too shameless when the map is literally the real Earth map drawn by a child, says Dadbod. It's exactly why I can't get down with the old world. If you're not European, you're a literal monster. Hey, Dadbod, we covered this a little bit last week as well, and this is going to be like an ongoing thing. Like the old world, like I think in many ways has to like lean into the satirical nature of the setting. That's why I hope for more whimsy. This show hasn't had a lot of whimsy right now. But I hope for more. Hold on, let me press. Let's get Matt Berry in here.
God damn these electric sex bands.
Perfect. Like, I feel like we need a bit more whimsy from the old world, like in a load of ways, or lean into kind of like the grim, dark element of the old world. One of the two. Make the goblins maniacal and like big whimsy. And then make, the very obvious connection between the Empire and its, like, non-heroic status. Hello, French-tastic in the chat. First-time chatter, hello. My current plan is to super glue to plain, cheap wooden bases. Then I could spend my time on game release and do whatever happens. See, Liam's in the right place. That's kind of how I feel at the moment. So I'm going to... My friend... so we're going to have a Tomb King army, and we're going to have a Bretonnian army ready for Old World, and maybe a Chaos Dwarf army ready for Old World when it launches at the arena. We don't know how long away that's going to be, but I think we've got 6 months to a year probably. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox. You don't have to get off your soapbox. I think it's a legitimate conversation when talking about the old world, is that there is a lot of fantasy bigotry built into it, like into its institutions, but as is societal institutions. Just lost 3 viewers there. Which is good, because they were obviously pieces of shit if they can't hear that and not like recognize that. Morning to Brock Paints. Have you checked out Gamek's new elves? Painting them at the minute. Only thing is I don't like circular shields. They're not elvish enough. Hockey Poco, I haven't. Okay, so let's look at the Khemri, shall we? So that's going to be these guys. So let's just pop this here. So these are going to be all of the Tomb King stuff. So the Tomb King roster is something I think, fairly aware of, but I might need a little bit of help from the chat, because I think some of this is too, like, you don't need all of this. This is like a little bit much, which is kind of fun. So we'll go through this now. Because some of it I'm not sure it was even ever released, or it's multiple kits that could be used as something else. So that's pretty interesting. And again, these kind of like these 3D sculptors aren't really set in what they need you to play or build or any of those other things. Do you think Games Workshop know there are loads of very old people who are sitting on large and fully painted Warhammer Fantasy armies that span 40 years and can still probably use in the new iteration? The Troll Hole, I think that they absolutely do know that. I think they haven't planned for that, because, like, if we look at every marketing decision they've made in the past several years, they're not that smart. So I think what's happened is just an old fella has just been like, I'm going to release the old world, and then we're now here. I think that's where we're at as a business. And we get to benefit from that, I guess. and Knigget's also right. They probably don't want to sell us models. They just want to sell us books. Like, if the Troll Hole is right, let's say there's, I don't know, 10,000 people who used to play the old world and would rebuy the new old world book to be happy it relaunched. They don't give a fuck. You're like, ha ha ha, I'm not even buying your new miniatures. You're like, no, you bought our incredibly overpriced rulebook and then our wildly overpriced codex. Yeah, you probably spend close to £100 on a game you're never giving us money for. Books and paint. Oh yeah, that's also true. Any good Kislev sculpts? There are loads of great Kislev sculpts. It's basically the reason Warhammer Fantasy Battle died. A sales hit rock bottom with new people liking 40k. So Aramis Squirrel, that's not why Warhammer Fantasy Battle died. Warhammer Fantasy Battle was was intentionally destroyed, didn't die. It's very important. Please listen to the show from last week if you want to go listen to it. Its sales were actually through the roof during the end times because they actually supported their game system and even advertised their game system, right? And so sales upticked. It didn't die because it wasn't popular. It died because they didn't support it. And then they chose to destroy it, right? That's very important. Anyway, let's start looking at some miniatures. Please do listen. Val, it's an hour and a half of me not talking and Val just screaming at me, okay? I promise you, Rambo Squirrel, it's fully covered. It made me laugh when then Val said 40k used to be known as the kids' game. That was so true. That's pretty funny. It's pretty fun compared to now, right, when it's the serious game. Anyway, this is awesome. This is just an undead. So the Tomb Kings, they're all mummies, right? That looks awesome. I like that you can see the texture of the mummified skin. I like that the carrion eagle is mummified. I love that you've got the ankh pots on the side of this miniature. Just a great miniature. I think I'll be happy having people with armies that I'll be able to provide 1/8 of different rules for. I may get more than one game Warhammer Fantasy Battle a year. The Troll Hole, I think you're going to get a lot. I think it's going to be really big. Cope's Design, thanks for subscribing for the first time. Oh, I don't know why you did, but I always like it first time. I know why the other degenerates come back, because they're like me. We're stuck here forever. But thanks for joining us. This is great. There was a point blank paint outside Warhammer Fantasy Battle that thought made me giggle, yeah. Skeletons and Mortals. I don't believe that AOS is for dads, Knigget. I think that's an old man saying it. Skeletons and mortals have the best aesthetic. That's true. We all hate stuff. Okay, so that's a good sculpt. We like that one. I've opened too many tabs, by the way. Just a load of characters. So I guess this is one of the things in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, if I remember correctly, there was just tons of characters. You would have like dude on foot, dude on horse, wizard on foot, wizard on horse, priest on foot, priest on horse, multiple priests, multiple wizards, right? Um, like that's what they would end up with. Oh my god, the face on that. Oh, there's two different face sculpts. Look, there's one with a mask, and then one with like the mask taken off and it's screaming. That is amazing. That has got a lot of that's pretty awesome. Like, uh, do the quick flip between again. Poof, poof. That's pretty cool, right? Mask on, mask off. That's so cool. Uh, Man, when you get choices of mounts for a character, too much for current rules. I mean, I liked it. Like, it was fun. You'd be like, okay, I'm gonna give them a horse, and then the horse would give them like +1 to their save, right? But it would cost you points. I liked that. Like, the customization made sense in a lot of ways, I thought. So chariots were super important to Tomb Kings. You could run chariot armies, right? So chariots were kind of like, were they their USP? Because they kind of did like they were one of those armies that was a bit interesting, where you went down the kind of skeleton horde route with actual skeleton warriors, like, and then like skeleton archers. But then you went down, like, then you had chariot armies, and obviously that worked really well with Cetra, who was a character, who's a chariot-based character. And then you had like the big monstrous constructs, right? In the what were they called? Uh, 10 mortal wounds. That guy. Um, and then you had the snakes. So the Hierotitan, is that what it's called? You know what I mean, those things. But anyway, awesome sculpt. So these chariots are super important. These have to be better than the OG skeleton chariots. I should have done a side by side. Is what I should have done. I'll do that for next week. There should be a side by side of these. Bone Giants were Pete Tomb King for me. Bone Giants are great. I think I remember Van Hell's Dance Macabre making your skellies go nuts and clown on everyone. That's fun. Yeah, the Sphinx and the Necro Sphinx. Yes. Looks more fragile, though, the horses especially. I mean, over plastic kits, Circon, I absolutely agree. Also, this for Empire. I love that everyone's got some sculpts that they love already for the old world. This is great. Mercenaries and Militia set. Ooh. Hold on. I have like 900 tabs open. Val is currently in Las Vegas, Neuroshock Dubs, so he is not available today. But he is keen from next week. He's told me previously. Okay, let's keep going through this. So skeleton chariot is really important. Skeleton horsemen, they also had horse archers as well. I agree, these are going to be very fine and break a lot, especially if they're in resin. There are things you can do to try to make that resin better. But like the actual designs are 11 out of 10, right? Out of them, there are loads of good Sylvaneth sculpts. I'll try and find you some at some point. Player pool ever, yeah. Oh shit, I forgot also my friend was on Warhammer. So okay, well I'm glad. Look at that. That's incredible. What is that? Hierotitan? So that's an undead beastie of some kind, and then it's ridden by a king. That is very, very good. A Necrosphinx. So what you purchase is the STL, not the miniature, correct? Correct, Jim Connius. And if you want to skip that whole process, there'll be people on Etsy who just 3D print this stuff. Yeah. I think probably the smart play, if in your local community, is to get a 3D printer between a few of you, have one of them be the 3D print guy, and then you all just pump in resin and designs. Yeah, Necrosphinx. That's an amazing Necrosphinx. So very good. A syndicate, you say? Yes. Get a syndicate is what I suggest. Okay, it doesn't quite look as imposing from the side view. Is it a crocodile? Yeah, weird dog. Hey, Eon Blue, hope you're well. Then we've got some characters. A Canoptic Hero. Don't need to look at that too much. That's fine. And then we've got some Canoptic Guard. So yeah, they had the things. What were they called? the things from Stargate and Stargate Universe and Stargate Atlantis. Teal'c. They have 3 Teal'cs. It's what they've got. Ushpati. Thank you. Ushapti? Ushapti? Jaffa. Jaffa! They have Sculpts, which is nice. They incorporated another IP. It's super nice that they incorporated Stargate into this IP now. Ushpati. Ushapati. I can't remember how to say it. It's fun. The basing is awesome as well. And I guess that's the other thing you get with the Sculpts is you get basing, which is fun. Just an awesome Tomb King mummy wizard. That's great. With the sandy hand. Let me get you with my... They should definitely do a spell called the Sandy Hand of Doom. Right? Hello, Grey Fox. Hello. Drop Gargants to bring these guys. The more I learn about the old world, the more I understand why the paints are named. The Sandy Hand is the way it should be. Oh, wait. Okay, yeah, because some of the paints are still based off... Of course. I guess this is our Necrosphinx. This is absolutely stupid. This is the kind of stupid that only really works from 3D prints, where they're like, we don't care. Like, we don't care how you transport it. Like, just, there you go, have that. Right? Like, that is insane. What is that, a boat on top of an undead elephant with dudes riding it? I like that there's a boat on their undead elephant. Yeah, like, this is 3D printer hubris, in my opinion. This is just nonsense. How interchangeable do you reckon they'll make the Dawnbreaker Crusade the old world? I think they'll make it like apples and or chalk and cheese, so you can't Circon. I think that they'll be intentionally wanting to separate the two. I could be wrong, but I feel like the sculptors who design stuff for Old World are going to be based in Forge World. The sculptors who design stuff for Age of Sigmar will be from Citadel. So they're effectively competing companies inside the same company. So I think the cohesion that you would expect looking at other games companies or just literally any other company in the world is not something you're going to get from this release, which is going to be funny. But there's room for them to change our minds, right? But scale-wise, it should be the same, both human. Absolutely. Like, do you think they'll intentionally make them quite, like, dynamic so they don't rank up? I don't know. Is there a 3D print of the CGI version of the Scorpion King based on the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson from that amazing movie? I hope so. What, from Black Adam? Oh, look at this. This is awesome. What is that? Yeah, they used to have a thing for Tomb Kings. They used to have like a casket of souls. That's the casket of... Okay. This beats the shit out of the other casket of souls. This is so much better than the other casket of souls. It's riding sand. Yeah, magic sand. The sand's also got a hand that's lifting up the... I saw it in One World Event Pack last night. They're not allowing Forge World minis because of the age restriction of those minis. Is that why? There's an age restriction on the minis. Wow. So One World Event Pack last night, they're not allowing Forge World minis because of the age restriction of those minis. What event was it? Like Age of Sigmar 40k, Heresy. Like Games Workshop are going to have to accept the loss here. These are excellent. Like these are outrageous. Sigmar. No. What? Are they worried a kid will eat the enemy's resin? 15 plus for hazard materials, I think, for the resin. No. It's because too many people who buy Forge or restrained orders and can't be near kids. Okay. Well, that's hilarious. Anyway, skipping Games Workshop generally. That Casket of Skulls is 11 out of 10. Casket of Souls? Skulls? Casket of Hulls? Can I speak English? I don't know. The Bone Colossus. The Bone Giant. Dude. That's pretty good. Dude, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. The Casket of Bowls, yeah. Casket of Awesome. Look at this. It's great. His face is a bit derpy. Like, I'm going to throw that out there. Right? I love the huge Ra symbol. Yes, me too. Like, they've gone all in. Like, what's funny is also, is I guess the old world stuff was like, yeah, they're mummies, but we're not like literally lifting the Egyptian like culture and put it onto ancient Egyptian culture, sorry, and put it on here. And then, and then these guys are like, lol, give a shit. uh, there's another set of miniatures by One Page Rules. If you've got a link, I'd love to see. Then we've got Sand Bedouins. Okay, these are just uh, these are cavalry, and then they've got sand dudes on top. These are great. Mummies riding. These are fantastic. Is that the casket on his back for a quiver? Yes, it is a casket on the back for a quiver. Yeah, you saw that. That's a great shout. That's a great shout. Where's my undead camels coming? These are some Sphinx style characters, which I don't know what they would be used instead of. Don't know. There was in not Tamrakhan, the Monstrous Arcanum, there was a beetle character. But this miniature is a catapult. So I guess this is the catapult that they had from because I think they had a catapult. The Tomb Kings had a catapult. One page collection. Thank you. I'll check out these in a minute. I'm so down. Right, yeah, they're good, right? They're very, very good. Screaming Skull Catapult. That's what it was, a Screaming Skull Catapult. But this one's buried inside of a beetle. It doesn't matter. I think this is the way their back art. Don't look at it like they're rotating on the blender. You don't like it? I like it. I think it's good. I think that's very good. I think that's very good. That's excellent. Initiates tickets chamber. Oh, is this for the kids event though, Dardrin? Oh, this is specifically designed for younger players. Okay, like that's specifically designed for younger players. Then I guess Forge World is evil. No, none of that. I'm glad you didn't buy a ticket, eh? What is this? Some sort of spider monster, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, in coming out of the tomb. Oh wait, Scarab. Not Scarabs. You used to have a sand scorpion or something, didn't you? In the army, I remember you had like a single scorpion. You could buy them as like singles, and they would like pop up and do stuff. Tomb Scorpion. That was it, Ziggy. Absolutely correct. Fab. The Anophis on Canoptic Altar. I guess this is also the Casket of Souls. This is just a different Casket of Souls. Because there was like a Tomb Altar miniature as well from the range. That one's great. It's got some little handlers, some dude on top. Love that. Love that for me. Then you got Cetra, but not Cetra. Just some sort of undead Tomb King on top of 4 beasties that's dragging it. And I guess you could use this as a generic Tomb King as well, obviously, because I think the generic Tomb King could go on a chariot as well. So that's pretty cool. I think that's Cetra. Which is fun. Then you've got Carrion, which were a unit that would drop from the sky. So they came in units of 3. Lost Kingdom always brings the heat. Mercy is one of the absolute fave lines. I agree, Margoon. Jumped into a meeting, come back, still on the same line, Tomb Kings. At this rate, you'll be spending 3 hours on Lost Kingdom and not get to the good stuff. Liam Jordan, what is the good stuff? I'm looking through it because it's worth talking about. It's also re-remembering the roster for myself as well is the important part. I mean, I could just do Tomb Kings today. It's fucking years away, or it's this year. One of those two. But Highland Miniatures, can't stress enough Highland Miniatures. Please send me a link if that's possible, and then we'll go check it out. How terrified is Games Workshop now? Because they should be scared. 3D printed designs are as good, if not better, than official sculpts. They're not scared at all. They're not scared. They're not scared at all. Like McDonald's is legitimately substandard food. Like, World Health Organization, a bunch of nutritionists, everyone in the world is like, this is food not really edible for man. Yeah. Not good, not healthy, not excellent. right? But you go in, it's tasty as hell. You pick it up, you eat that bad boy, nom 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 nom. Why? Because it's easy, right? It's available, and it's tasty, right? Same thing with Games Workshop minis, right? You're going to walk in and pick up a box of Bretonians or a box of Tomb Kings, and you're not going to know what the fuck you're doing, and you're going to walk out. And that's because it's easier than setting up a 3D printer, putting them in the vat, bringing the models out, putting them in isopropyl, taking supports off. You think it's going to be easier. I don't personally think it's easier, but you think it's going to be easier, right? Do you have any Lost Kingdom models, Mr. Honest Wargamer? I have the files for the Tomb Kings, but that's because James gave me the files as a present, not file sharing. As a present. Eventually they will offer prints for sure for bits and whatnot. A store will have some printers. If they don't have it, they'll print for you. I agree. Oh, Heppanos, thanks for resubscribing. Heapnos, your second time. What up? The Etsy distribution pipeline is starting to come into its own. And Dadbod, I agree. I think the Etsy distribution pipeline is very good. Right now, enough people are happy with the availability of Games Workshop compared to hassle of 3D printing. That's my point. Doesn't mean I think it's a much more viable option, but I recognize that like many things, like cycling to work has got all of the benefits you could possibly want from anything. You know, it's very cheap. It's good for your health. You know, but sometimes you get a bit soggy and it's a bit of effort. So, there you go. Eventually, printing the store will be cheaper than shipping plastic worldwide. Eventually. And they're probably going to move towards that market, Circon. But that doesn't mean that... I don't know. Yeah, it's a great question. Well, it's for another show. Yeah, I've got a printer that I use regularly. I still buy minis from GW. Exactly. Anyway. File sharing greater than file hoarding. I agree. That's true. Another great big mini. In the interest of some Uzbati with bows. I think they look very fun. I like they've got different heads, a crocodilian head, a lion head, and the... What is the bird that you see often in like Egyptian stuff? Is it like... There's a specific bird. It's not a crow. I don't know what it is. Anyway, I should watch. I watch a lot of Egyptian stuff, but it's mainly how Egypt was built by aliens. So, I mean, that's real. Ibis, that's correct. Shab tea, thank you. This is my tea, actually. This is English breakfast tea. I don't know if that was worth a joke, but that was good. A big bone giant. Some mummies, finally. We get to mummies. They look excellent. Tomb King mummies, they look really good. Like enough little couple of weapons amongst them. You could print loads of those for pennies. That looks really awesome. So the Damned Regiment. Then you've got the actual skeleton warriors, but they're all Tomb King-y. I mean, they look phenomenal. Like, let's be honest. Oh my god, they look great. I especially love the shields. That's so dumb. Okay, they look great. Then you've got the troops, and then you've got the big... I don't even know what that is. What is that? Just some giant Tomb King character riding a big undead rhino. Okay, I love that. This range is huge. This isn't... I haven't even... Then the Sebla Headless Horseman. You got the Headless Archers. I need you to know this is page 2 of 5 that we've looked through. Page 2 of 5. There are more pages than this. You've got some other skeleton warriors, but these aren't the heavily armored versions. So these are more your like battle line guys. So like troops and stuff, right? So like that's a little bit not as big. There's the infantry. The command group for them, and there you go. And we're only on page 2. Page 3 of 5. There's a page 4. Oh no, page 3 or 4. So there was only 3 more we didn't look at. Here we go. These are the 3 most recent ones, maybe. So some slightly different skeleton warriors, horsemen, some mummies, but the mummy command group, and then finally, that looks like a Halloween version of Catacross, in my opinion. So there we go. All right, okay. So we've had some more suggestions about other mummies. So if we're doing just mummies right now, they've got one-page rules. One-page rules is pretty massive. So they have a bunch of 3D sculpts for their Tomb King range. So let's have a look at that. Interesting. I'm not sure I like these as much, just off the initial view. Because it's all, some of them are okay. Yeah, I don't think I like these as much. Let's have a look. Roll over for an image zoom. No, I want the whole image in big. This is one of the weirdest things that websites do, is they don't give you a massive picture of the thing they're trying to sell you the most. Like, look at this page. Like, what is this page? Like, as a page. Like, there might be worse websites, but this is bad. Like, just give me a huge picture of the thing and then a buy button next to it, right? Or even underneath it. Gotta go. Have a good stream. Take care. Danzilla, look after yourself. Control plus scroll when you zoom in. Control plus. Yes, this is the. I have to do this, but now I've got to do this on every page. Okay, so it's got quite a lot of nice detail on it. If I'm honest, I like the texture on the snake. Looks really good. There's some nice finery. I'm really struggling to actually see the mini though. Like this is. Oh no. Okay. I'd say this is okay. I personally think that the Lost Kingdom ones are better. Or is that just me? You know why this is great and they are not. Then you can actually play with the strong dense models and so not many details you actually paint. That's true, Sircon. Like and that's also like that's also something that like people like the hobby's broad, right? Like people have these are chunkier so they're more survivable, right? As in they won't break as much and other stuff, which is a legitimate and valid concern with 3D printed miniatures. Like I completely agree. They're chunkier. Absolutely. Like, and then if you do them on a high detail printer, they won't break as much. I mean, but those little strands on there might break and other stuff as well. Like, it's just one of those unfortunate things that happens with 3D printed minis. But they're literally a tenth of the price. So, and I'm sure in the future the 3D print market will end up so that it's more robust. I just think that this War Sphinx is very much a good War Sphinx. And is great and quick to do, but I just think that I want the undead elephant with a boat on top, right? They're not a tenth of the price from Etsy. That's true. When you print them yourself, they're a tenth of the price. You're absolutely right. I like these more. They're more natural poses. Okay, that's fair. What I like about this also is whenever they do release Tomb Kings into the old world, you'll be judging Tomb Kings based off on how other designers in that space have been building stuff for years. So, like, this is a real opportunity for those Games Workshop designers to flex and be like, this is what they look like. So, like, new Bretonians should be the best Bretonians you've ever seen in the history of time. And, like, should compete with these 3D sculptors massively. If they don't, that's going to be pretty wild, if I'm honest. Okay. We don't need that. Right. Okay, one-page rules. There's another one. And then the other one, Highland Miniatures. I haven't looked at those yet. I haven't looked. Oh, I've seen some Empire Swordsmen. They look pretty great. They look great, those Empire dudes. Absolutely excellent. I feel like there's a load of stuff that needs to happen with the Empire, specifically for Old World. We need a lot of mustaches. Right? We need a lot of braggadocious poses, right? We need like thrusting. We need top hats. We need many feathers in caps. Yeah, we need a lot of braggadocious is the right word. Yeah, we need a lot of bold bigness from the Empire. Yeah, I want haughty mustaches. Right? Pantaloons. I want pantaloons and codpieces galore. Right? I need, pomp. Pomp and adventure. Yeah, I want Lord Flashheart from insert all of the Blackadders, right? Especially the cod pieces. Like, we need Lord Flashheart. That's what we need. Hold on. We need to look at this now. Is it Lord Flashheart? Lord Flashheart. This is what we need, right? Cod piece El Grande. Okay, this is it. Hold on. This is what we need.
It's me, Flash! Flash by name, Flash by nature. Hooray! Where have you been?
That's what I want Carl Franz to do, right? That's what immediately. I'm Carl Franz! Hooray!
Where haven't I been? Woof! Well, I'm here now. Who is that?
I don't know, but he's in your place.
Not for long. Thanks, bridesmaid. Like the beard. Gives me something to
Love to see. Hold on.
hang on to.
See, that's the good thing about Lord Flashheart, right? Very accepting. Yeah, very based, right? We need uber long German names as well. Agreed. In fact, chat. Okay. Blackadder. We don't need any more of this, do we? But this is what we know we need. All right, Highland Miniatures. That's what we said we look for next. Highland Miniatures. Okay, let's have a little look. I want more people to do this. Check the last picks. Hold on. The last picks. Oh, yes. Okay, you want more of this. I agree. This is absolutely how miniatures should be produced in the future for us as gamers. Leg separate to head separate to body separate to arm separate. Easy, simple. You can like kit bash them as much as you want. Like this is absolutely. I agree with this 100%. Like this is one of the things that is really, really good about 3D printing. It's one of the things that that Titan Forge do really well. These are. Could you maybe print them on a sprue? That's quite an interesting one, actually. I think the reason they probably don't do that, Pershaw, is the supports literally do that job that the sprue would do, if that makes sense, and arguably in better ways. And then you probably use less stuff. So, yeah. Good morning, Drew Barry. Just let me print them in one piece and glue it to a base. Yeah, I mean, Liam is also correct. You could also, what's really great is if they give you the option. So some 3D designers do, what they do is they'll give you the whole model as one print, and then you just print it out. And then some will give you the option to, in addition, print each piece individually. Titan Forge have a bunch of sculpts like this where like many of the parts are like individual and then you can break them apart, and I think that's great. I think having the option is also one of the great things about 3D printing, right? Like, so that's really good. Actually, Wargames Atlantic made a box of plastic out of this 3D print group, and there's like talks of making this malicious set into plastic. There you go. I think that this is going to be the future. I think, does anyone know, because I'm not 100% up on this, but I think Ravage Star by Mini Wargaming Dave. Isn't that all like hardened like plastic? Like that's not sprue plastic that you build. Doesn't that come pre-built and ready to go? Thanks, Cabbage, for the link. Someone needs to make some software you can pick the options and output as a model. It's PVC. Yes, it's PVC. So it comes pre-built, right? Pre-assembled. It's PVC and it's pre-assembled. Like any recent tweets? No. I told you I spoke to him. I think he just needs someone to talk to him. That was all it was. I think he didn't really understand what he was doing. So we'll see. Pre-assembled, like that's a huge. Making figs being able to rank up in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, maybe the old world could limit the poses figures have. Yeah, I agree that they're going to limit them 100%. Okay, so someone wanted me to look at this. Liam thinks Highland Miniatures is the future. So let's find the Tomb Kings ones from those guys. They should have a Tomb King collection, you assume. They've got a Bretonnian collection, but they don't have a Tomb King selection. I'm pretty certain. But yeah, they've got. They have humans. So Sunland. They have these. So this is Bretonnians. I gotta say, I think the Bretonnians from this are okay. Oh no, these are Empire. These are just regular Empire dudes. Highland do some really nice dwarfs. Highland do some great stuff. No criticism of Highlands. Like, I want you to know that. Like, it's not who or what I am. I'm not criticising Highlands. I just think I think the best Bretonnian stuff on the internet is Lost Kingdom. Just putting it out there. Like, I think that there's no shot that there's anything better than what they make. In my personal opinion. Yeah, it's all taste. Exactly. So that's why we're going to look at other stuff that, like, that's why I'm here to just present the information, right? So you can all see. Like, these dwarfs are great. These are very OG dwarfs, but they're OG dwarfs that have been updated. That's kind of the point. You're like, that doesn't look too dissimilar from the original dwarfs from GW. But that's the bit that's great. Like, it's just a slightly better edited version of the OG dwarfs. I own Lost Kingdom Bretts, Highland Dwarfs, and Empire. Nice. That's awesome, but for rings. Margoon, yeah, I've used those. Been tweets. You're watching Owen develop a gambling addiction in real time. I have seen that. That's been funny. It's like fudge, is what it is. This Necromancer's fantastic from these guys. I mean, they've got all the weapons, right? You've got the rocket battery, you've got the Hurricaneum, you've got like all sorts of stuff from Highland Minis. Yeah, these guys are really good. The dwarfs are great if you want to do dwarf hammerers. And these will print very cheaply as well. Like, you'll get a squad of... That's the other bit as well. This is the thing I haven't really been thinking about a lot, but I don't know what 30 Dwarf Warriors from Forge World is going to cost. But, like, I assume... Yeah. Like, too much. They're one-piece models, about 22p to print a model. Yeah, so like Liam is saying, if he wants to print 10, so what is that, £6.60? If he wants to print a unit of 30 Dwarf Warriors from Highland Miniatures, not including the STL, which is $20, so what's that, 15 quid. So it's going to cost him £20 to produce those 30 Dwarf Warriors. No, sorry, £20 to produce those 30 Dwarf Warriors, versus, I don't know what it is. They're one-piece models, yeah. I wish there were runes on the hammers, though. Yeah, I wish there were runes on the hammers. They've got the little faces, but yeah, I agree. I wish there were little runes on the hammers. That would be quite fun. Quite excited about dwarfs, actually, like OG dwarfs, because they were really underrepresented. They've been underrepresented in Age of Sigmar forever, so like they haven't really had their day in the sun. And that's like a pretty iconic race to be underrepresented. Like, Games Workshop have been pretty weird champs, to be honest, about Age of Sigmar. Like, they've invested crazily into elves. Sylvaneth, Lumineth, Idneth, Daughters of Cain, like, all have had consistent and like persistent releases. And then dwarfs, we did get Fire Slayers and we got Carriage Overlords. That's true. But we've got the Fire Slayers release and then nothing since. And then you got the KO release and then nothing since. So like, whereas like all those others got updated a lot. They've pushed Chaos quite heavily. You know, new Slaves to Darkness, new Tzeentch, new Nurgle, new Sinesh. So they pushed all that, like all new Khorne. So like Chaos and Slaves to Darkness as well. So other than Skaven, they pushed really heavily. But like, there's been some big misses, I think. I think the humans took a loss in AOS. I agree with that, right? There was Johnny Ghost Pants. That was pretty good representation. Only because of me, though. And Johnny Ghost Pants, right? And Johnny Ghost Pants and his ability to shoot anything in the world. There we go. Highlands Miniatures, Transylvania, the Fallen Realm. These look cool. All right, let's go back to. I think these are legit okay, in my opinion. I'm trying to think of what is. I like that we've already decided that there's different factors to what you would want from this stuff. You would want maybe chunkier miniatures so they don't break as much. You would want miniatures that, like, maybe you think are more reasonable and print as one part. Some people don't want miniatures you print as one part, and you want more customization, which I think is mega fair. I really respect that. I think you're like, yeah, I just want a single miniature. Just give me that. These guys just print as a single mini. That's pretty attractive. Like, that's pretty attractive. Are there any nice vampirates? I'm sure there are. Oh, the Blood Bowl team's great. Enough pantaloons. I just want more pantaloons. All right, let's go back and just take a look at some of this other stuff. So there's Night Elves. Dark Elves obviously set to make a return in the old world, which will be very exciting. Then there's the Undead of Misty Island. So one of the things that happened in Total War, again, looking at Lost Kingdom stuff, one of the things that happened in Total War is they show the Blood Bowl team. I showed the Blood Bowl team, didn't I? There it is. This is the whole Blood Bowl team. They're great. The Empire Blood Bowl team are full of whimsy. Like, this is absolutely excellent. I love this. More whimsy available for me. And then here are your Vampirates. Yeah, so the Vampirates are available here. So this is Vampirates. Okay, the Undead of Misty Island is all this. So in Total War Warhammer, they did a Vampirates section. Section? I don't know if that's the right thing. They made Vampirates. So the Vampire Coast. Let's remind ourselves. Let's Vampire Coast this up. Hold on. Vampire Coast. So this is the vampires. So we can get reminded. Let's do this. Let's do the cinematic release. Let's go. Come on. The other thing is, I don't know why my internet's so bad. The other thing is, we have to remember, is that, like, Total War has done so much world building for Games Workshop. Like, they've literally fleshed out all of the old world. They've done all the dev work. They've done so much dev work for GW. GW just have to pick it up and run from it. I would love them to release Cathay. I'm absolutely certain they're going to release Cathay.
Though, truth be told, it started very poorly.
This was a cool trailer. I don't know why my internet's being bad. I'm sorry. We'll try and get it sorted. I don't know. I can't just load a video. Come on!
I was one, but now we are many. We all agree on one thing: to sail the coast. Hunt down those lizard trinkets. And we will find them. One piece at a time. We will put ourselves back together.
Oh, yes. Do you remember when Soulblight Gravelords came out and everyone was like, it's going to be Vampirates. It's going to be Vampirates. It's going to be Vampirates. Like, this is all we need. I've got a few angry frogs to take offense at having Shiny Bauble stolen. This guy had a Mini too, right? I don't think so. Did he? No. There was no Vampirate Minis. Like, again, they could have just released this. Like,
Fortune favors the infamous.
yeah, like okay, all right. We'll also do a Vampirates army. Like why not? Like because it's ridiculous. The actual Kraken. Yeah, the music is great. So yeah, Vampirates. But Games Workshop never released any Vampirate models. So you would assume that they're going to be in the old world versus, yeah, like, and maybe that's the reason we didn't see, maybe that's the reason we didn't see Vampires released into Age of Sigmar because they're going to be in the old world, which is legitimately very exciting. Do you think these could be used for Ineth Deepkin? Yeah, sure, why not? Like, no one's stopping you. So there's a bunch of there's a bunch of these models. So like there's some like I think these are like werewolves, but they've got no hair. Gross. So like ghouls or something. This is the Eldritch the Claw lycanthrope hero. So again, a werewolf, but he's more nautical themed. He's got a crab arm and he's carrying a shark as a club. Right? Thank you, Garion. Appreciate you. So then we've just got some characters. Like, is that a skeleton monkey with a little cannon? That is absolutely amazing stuff. Right, Captain Sawleg and Mr. Boom. Okay, perfect. Give me more of that. Hold on. What else have we got? We've seen Captain Sawleg. So then this is like the infantry. So our like actual dudes. There's a Mongol. There's some deep sea zombies with a command group. So it's like, there's not a massive range. There's only 2 pages of this. Okay, so they haven't done loads. So they haven't. They definitely do not have. Are these new though? Yeah, these are all new sculpts. So this is their new range. Wild. I haven't even seen these yet. So these are obviously like a range that they're still expanding. So they've got some Buccaneers available here. They look great. Those are the skeleton great. Oversize him and make him a whale-bait gargant. Yeah. I want Ghost Pirates Buccaneers. I want that too. There's your Mongol. With like a little siren of the sea next to it. That's cool. These break when you glance at them. Yeah, like ultimately, like you have to be careful with resin miniatures. Like I'm not gonna hide behind anything. Like you do have to be cautious. But they offer you the opportunity to have incredible new sculpts, very cheap. Like very, very cheap. Yeah, they're very. All right, I think what we'll do is we'll leave it there today. Because we've covered almost nothing. We haven't looked at the Bretonnian sculpts that are available, right? Which is like absolutely, literally tons of Bretonnian sculpts from loads of different races. Loads of Saurus available from loads of different races. We haven't talked about Empire. We just touched on Lost Kingdom, on Highland miniatures, and I'd like to spend more time looking at Highland miniature stuff because there's more miniatures available from them. And that's just 2 designers for stuff for the old world. So getting ready for the old world, there's some real opportunity to build and paint or print and paint or even build and paint all of this stuff. I'm sure there are third-party retailers that you can buy the OG sculpts from if you want to be an OG head. I'm not too bothered about that. Like, I just want cool minis, and I don't care where the cool minis come from. As long as obviously people get paid, you know. So like that's cool. So there's loads of options. Thursday's shaping up to be weirder than Tuesday, definitely. So if you do have some, if you watch this back on YouTube, for example, and you have some third-party sculpts that you think are worth looking at, drop them in the comments. And then just hope you enjoyed the show. Like basically, Val should be back next week, but he might not be. Again, this is going to be slow roll. We're just looking at old world stuff until old world comes out, okay? And getting ourselves kind of like in that mental headspace, refamiliarizing myself with the IP because there's loads of it. Like it's pretty huge. And then having those conversations about the IP as well, like we had earlier. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, then follow along, all that other stuff. Subscribe, like, support.